Everyone, how's everybody doing? It's good to be back with you again on this Wednesday for this live recording of Christmas Clatter here on YouTube and this live stream. I get a few things set up here real quick. There we go. I hope everybody's doing well. Hey, Mikey, Ken, Jessica, hello. Thanks for hopping in with us. Hello, Holly. Thanks for being here, and you and Ken keep an eye on everything. I don't know if you guys noticed, got a little bit new of a color scheme around the borders here. I like the green. You know, Christmas Clatter will always be branded green, but need a little bit of red and white to go with it. A little bit of candy cane around the edges there, and kind of playing around with stuff to see how it goes. And you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, try something new again later. Hey, Ben. Good to have you guys here. Oh, on your Apple TV. I'll be talking about Apple TV here shortly. So when I start recording, getting those trees up and ready, we will be doing that this week. It's one thing about the recording the live stream. I want to talk to everybody when they come in, but then I don't want to just sit there and tell everything I'm going to say again when I start recording the episode. But yeah, I'm so glad you guys are here. This is our Halloween special, which it's our Halloween special. And if you've been around Christmas Clatter for very long, you know my feelings on Halloween. And we'll just go from there. But all right, well, let's just get into it. That way I don't sit here and just, fiddle around the edges too much. So we'll just get right into it. I feel like my microphone is too loose, but I think it's always like that. Sorry for the mic noise, guys. Alrighty, we'll get busy with it. That sounded silly. All right. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Christmas Clatter. This is our special Halloween episode, and more on that later. I have a few things I need to touch on real quick. As far as news and housekeeping for Christmas Clatter, the puzzle exchange, all names have been submitted and people have who they are sending their puzzles to. So if you missed out on signing up for the Christmas Clatter Christmas Puzzle Exchange for this year, just keep it in your back pocket till October of next year. I'm sure we'll be doing it again. We had a really nice turnout again this year for it, and I was happy to see that. So if you missed it this year, I'm sorry, but just, find someone and send them a puzzle, and if you really need to, I'm sure it would brighten someone's day. And there's just nothing like sitting around the table working a puzzle, especially around the holidays, especially that week between Christmas and New Year's. That is just the time to really do it. If you guys caught my video from late Sunday night, early Monday morning about my Mrs. Claus decoration, I had reached out to a few people, including Ernie of Pepper Tree Villa, and him and Doug said they had seen it before. So I knew when I did the video that it probably wasn't a handmade item, but I wanted to put it out there anyway because I found it was so interesting. And for those that hadn't seen the video, I found this gal here at an antique store locally. Now, the presents are homemade and they're put in there because when I pull them out, she's completely hollow in there, and something could fall in that stocking and get lost. But Santa Dad really came through, sent me an email of this exact figure, except the paint scheme was different, but it was the same size, same face, glasses, everything was exactly the same except the dress color and stuff was different. So it was like an early 70s piece. So there is a matching Santa, and I need to find it now. So the quest continues. But if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to it in the show notes for you guys. It's just a little quick video, not very long at all. In other news, Well, this is going to be a kind of a tough transition. I should have thought about the order here a little bit different, but we lost Jules Bass from the famous Rankin Bass duo that brought us so many Christmas memories as kids and growing up, and so many wonderful and beautiful and strange Christmas specials. Some of them were just kind of strange, but they all had their own charm. Um, he did Rankin Bass did things like The Hobbit. They were also instrumental in a couple of not Saturday morning cartoons, but like weekly after school cartoons that were real popular when I was in elementary school, like the Thundercats and Silverhawks. So if you get a chance, go check out his credits on IMDb or something. He was 87. Rankin had passed away a few years back at the age of 89. So that Christmas duo have gone on to that to the next part of their life, I guess. And it's sad to lose anybody, but to especially someone that's been so influential in Christmas as we know it. You know, anytime I see a snowman, I think of Burl Ives from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and that's because of Rankin Bass and people like Jules Bass. So thoughts and prayers to their family, and so this year when you're watching your favorite Rankin Bass special, whether it's Frosty the Snowman or what's the long-eared donkey one? I can't remember it now. There's just so many. Maybe send a thought or prayer to their family this holiday season, because that'd be tough. But hats off to you, Mr. Bass, and thank you from everybody here at the Christmas Clatter family. Yeah, that was I was going to post something about that last night or yesterday when I heard it, but it felt rushed, so I figured I'd just wait to say something about it today, and instead of just throwing up a social post and then letting it go away. I figured it needed a little bit more out loud discussion because of his thanks Ben Nestor the long-eared donkey is that name. So, but speaking of Christmas shows, we have some good ones coming this year. I've been looking at some things. It looks like total there's like, counting all the Hallmark and GAC stuff and Up and Lifetime and all the streaming networks, it's like 144 new Christmas movies this year. Now Hallmark will be like close to 50 of those, and then GAC will probably be like 25-ish of those. But some of them look really cool. Of course, Disney Plus is getting in on it. Hulu, HBO Max, BET Plus, Ion, Up. Discovery Plus is having movies this year. One, I kind of read the synopsis. It wasn't written that well, but something like Bobby Flay inherits like a Christmas inn or something. I don't really know. But it was just interesting seeing all the movies that are coming out and starting like next week. A couple ones that really interest me. There's a hip hop Nutcracker, which I think is like a stage show in New York. It's like a New York City style dance musical, and Rev from Run DMC is a part of it, and that's going to be on Disney Plus. That's what I'm kind of interested in, just because it's more. It's I don't want to use the word. It's different than the heartwarming romantic comedy kind of movie, So that one I'm interested in seeing. The Guardians of the Galaxy trailer dropped just a couple days ago. The holiday special for that's definitely will be a must watch. Anything MCU I watch religiously. and nerd out on. I'll definitely be watching that. Spirited on Apple TV with Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds. That's one I definitely want to watch. A few days ago, HBO Max dropped a Christmas Story Christmas, a sequel to the Christmas Story, with Peter Billingsley back as Ralphie. The trailer was really good. All the audio was from the original movie, and then it had some imagery from the movie. Then it shows Peter putting on his Ralphie glasses and his bright blue eyes. So it was a real nostalgia play. So that was really really interesting, and I really interested to see how it is. It kind of scared me that they didn't show any of the movie, because I don't know if they didn't show it because they want you to keep waiting, which it worked on that, or if they're just afraid to show you anything that it's so terrible. But usually if they have a movie, trailers just aren't what they used to be. Now it's like you can see a movie trailer. It's like, I don't need to see the movie now, guys. Thanks. I appreciate it. You save me, 2 hours, and, but I'll be seeing it. I was thinking it's like all these streaming services, the Roku channel is having an original Christmas movie, at least one, maybe two. I can't remember. But all these streaming services are having these Christmas movies, and it's like, for one, it's like, I don't want to subscribe to all of them, because then that'd be ridiculous on the old pocketbook around Christmas time. So it's like, well, I guess it's time to set up a bunch of bogus emails and get free trials, but I don't want to do that either, because that's not like the honest thing to do. So we'll have to figure something out, and I've always kind of been against the subscription hopping, where it's like, oh, there's something you want to see, you get a month, you watch it, and then you cancel your subscription because there's nothing else you want to watch. I always kind of, in my gut, always not really like that. Because I know those companies need people to subscribe monthly, and when people hop, it's bad for their bottom line. But I guess it's really not my responsibility, to do that. So we'll figure something out. Yeah, they did have a sequel to a Christmas Story, but I believe it was so terrible that people just kind of let it go by. It's kind of like the sequel to Christmas Vacation, where it's Cousin Eddie in Hawaii. It's just kind of one of those things. It's like, we'll just act like this never happened, and everybody would be the better for it. But yeah, some cool movies coming out for Christmas this year, and those are some of the ones I'm excited for. Really. Now, next week on the live stream, I'll have kind of same kind of rundown for Christmas music, because after like a dry spell of Christmas music information, I thought, man, it's going to be kind of a down year for Christmas albums this year, but that's kind of exploded the past few weeks. So once I get that together and get a few more high quality independent musical artists that have their stuff coming out next week, I'll kind of give a brief update on the Christmas music as well. But you guys, it's our Halloween special. And so enough about Christmas. Let's transition over to Halloween. And as I promised, this is my 10 favorite horror movies. Alrighty. Well, I kind of transitioned to Halloween here. I was, I think my most famous quote about Halloween is, I call it the last speed bump to Christmas. I'm not a fan. I don't hate it. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a spooky stuff doesn't thrill me. As I run through this list for the guys listening on the podcast, I'm going to be a little bit more interactive with the chat than I normally am, just kind of since I'm solo with this episode, just to kind of see where that goes, because there's guys in the chat here that have strong opinions about things. Hey, Sean. Hey, Mr. Cruz. How you guys doing? Thanks for hopping in and things. But we'll be talking about my top 10 favorite horror movies, and there's some rules that I had to set up for this, because you can't do a top 10 list and just like pick stuff, because people need rules, and I try to make a lot of rules, but as I said, Halloween's not my thing, and I got to be where I was picking movies that I like seen once but barely remember, and probably couldn't talk intelligently about, just because they're what you would consider a classic horror movie or something. So I set up just a few rules, and first rule's obvious. I've had to have seen the movie. I'm not going to pick a movie I haven't seen. That would be silly. How could it be one of my favorites if I haven't seen it? And the second rule, since I'm not a big horror movie fan, and I promised the most anemic list ever, which I don't think it's that anemic after getting it put together, it has to be a movie I want to see again. There's a lot of horror movies I've seen that I have no interest in watching again, even if I thought they were good. This just doesn't do anything for me, and I have no interest in watching them again. So they can't be one of my favorites if I have no desire to see them again. And then the other rule that I had to put in here, because some of the movies that I had in my mind, I'm like, well, is that a horror movie or is that a thriller, suspenseful drama movie? Because one of the things that kind of spurred me on this is I was kind of doing some research and going through some movies lists to kind of jog my memory of different things. Like Silence of the Lambs kept popping up as like one of the best horror movies, and I've never considered that movie a horror movie, even when it came out in theaters. I never once thought that movie was a horror movie. I just thought it was like, a suspenseful thriller, drama. And so it's like, well, are these movies on my list horror movies or not? So I had to find a way to say they were a horror movie. So I just went to IMDb, and if they say, because and the reason I chose IMDb over Rotten Tomatoes is because the website's easier to read. And under the movie title, they have like the different categories it falls under. It could be like, action, comedy, horror, or suspenseful horror, or suspenseful drama, that kind of thing. So if horror was in there, then it qualified. Because here's the thing. I have a few honorable mentions, and I'm going to get those out of the way here. These all made my list until IMDb told me that they were not horror movies. So, those are The Duel, 1971, Steven Spielberg. And I really like that movie. It's really cool. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's about this faceless truck driver and this guy. It's basically like road rage to the power of 10. Really suspenseful. Another Steven Spielberg that didn't make the list, that was on the list but not considered horror movie, was Jaws. I was not alive when Jaws came out in theaters, but I always heard how bad it scared everybody. Misery. Not a horror movie according to IMDb, but it was one of the movies that kind of really scared me. And The Sixth Sense as well. That movie was very good. It was very scary, very uncomfortable through it all. but not considered a horror movie. So those were 4 that were on the list, but because of IMDb, they were not considered horror movies. So, and I just want to ask everybody, please remember these are my favorites. These is not a best horror movie. If you want a best of horror movie list, go visit President Hot Dog over on Den of Geek, and they will happily tell you what the best horror movies are. I am not qualified to do that. I can just give you my my favorites on that. Yeah, Jessica, Sixth Sense was great, and Signs would have made the list. I didn't look at it to see if it was considered a horror movie because it's one of my favorites of all time. Because I never considered it a horror movie myself. So, and that's probably my favorite of his is Signs. It's just so good. But let's get started with number 10. And this is one probably that nobody ever thought would make a list of anything. Because I don't know how many people actually remember this movie. Does anybody remember 1985's The Stuff? I saw this movie on video when I was a young teenager, and it always stuck with me. It always was weird. And if you haven't seen The Stuff, it's basically this ice cream stuff that like turns people into zombies and kills people, and the government keeps pushing with these weird commercials for people to eat stuff. And it's got this kid in there, and he doesn't want to eat this. I'm going to say stuff a lot here. He doesn't want to eat this stuff. So he goes and he fills up his cup with shaving cream and eats the shaving cream to make everybody thinks he eats it. And it's really a movie about like, being overly consuming society as far as like materialistic things. And it's real goofy, and it's got real practical effects that kind of make you squeamish. I picked this poster. I don't think this was the original poster because the original movie poster was kind of gross, and I didn't want to have it on here. I'm just not a gross fan, so to speak. But if you want a mid-'80s practical effects weirdness, the stuff will fit the bill. And it is scary, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again because it's been so long since I've seen it, and it's always been one of those, like, it's like one of the, if you remember having a video store, you remember when you went to the video store and the movie you wanted wasn't there, so you just walked around till you found something, and then you found something, and you took it home and watched it, and it either was great, or it was terrible, or it was terribly great. And the stuff was one of those, we can't find nothing to watch. We've seen this movie here, every week for 2 years. Let's watch it. And it was one of those, and it's just always, it's something I never have forgotten. And it's worth checking out, especially if you haven't seen it before, and especially if you haven't seen like 1980s special effects. So that is The Stuff. And yeah, it's worth watching. It might not hold up very well today. Well, thinking about the plot, it might actually be more significant today than it was in 1985. I'll tell you that. It just might be more significant of a editorial on society. But it would be interesting to watch again. The other thing is, my movies are not very new at all. I think maybe 2018 might be the newest one, and most of them, 2009, 2016, and 18 are the newest ones, and after that, I don't think I get out of the 90s. So I'm just not a music fan. I'm a wonderful music fan. I am just not a horror movie fan, and things. But number 9, this is one you can watch a lot, and it's Zombieland. I have the poster for Double Tap, which is the sequel. I'm not talking about the sequel, but Zombieland. It's weirdly funny. It's more funny than horror, but it is scary. It's, Zombieland came out right at the beginning of the zombie apocalypse boom. That was the late 2000s, right before The Walking Dead exploded and that kind of stuff. And you have Woody Harrelson playing, this, crazy, guy that is, killing zombies left and right, trying to look for the last Twinkie. You have Bill Murray as himself, who gets killed because he dresses like a zombie to get blended in. And, it's just a wacky action horror zombie movie that's just a lot of fun. Everybody's named after their state they're from. Kind of a buddy road trip. It really sets up a lot of the zombie rules, or reestablishes the zombie rules from things, like that. And it's just, this movie, of all of them, I was going to say it's probably the most fun, but I don't know about fun. It may be the funniest of them, but there's a few in here that, yeah, they do say Jessica, they do say double tap in there. You have to double tap, make sure you get them in the head twice. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, Dwayne Cujo was a good one. Cujo was definitely a good one as well, and one I considered definitely for this list. But as I was making this list, it told me a lot about myself, because there were a lot of movies, for a while there, this list was pretty like Stephen King movie heavy, and then, and I didn't eliminate anything because of that, but I was like, well, apparently these are my favorite of the scaries. And there's also was, well, you'll see. This next one's a little bit, that a lot of people might not think, but I really love this movie because the cast was so small, and it was really nail biting and intense and scary and just on edge. And one of the things I will say that going through this movie is I'm a big monster movie, raging animal kind of movie, but The Shallows, yeah, I really like this movie. It's basically she's Blake Lively's stuck on a rock in the middle of water with a crazy killer white shark swimming around. She gets on a dead whale for one point, but I just love movies that the cast is so limited. It just seems like it ratchets up the intensity. If you guys ever seen Rear Window, especially Hitchcock, the Hitchcock one, not the newer ones that come out, with Jimmy Stewart, the whole movie takes place in Jimmy Stewart's apartment, and he's a race car driver who can't move because he broke his legs, and the whole movie is witnessed through the window of his apartment. And just something about having those limitations in setting and in cast and what you can see and do just kind of brings the intensity, to a boiling point that just really kind of hits that raw nerve. And The Shallows really did it. And, Jaws was a movie that was on this list, and I really enjoy the, crazy wild killer shark movies. It's just, I think because living in Missouri that I don't have to worry about crazy killer sharks, and will be more geographical evidence of scary movies later. But and going back to the limitations of a movie making it more scary, that'll be touched on a um, another movie as well. But just something about what being cast or setting that just really just I really like that Mandy Moore movie. I think it's Mandy Moore, 47 meters down. That was kind of the same way. It wasn't as good as The Shallows, and it kind of got hokey, especially at the end. But it was the same kind of claustrophobia feel as well. So that's number 8, The Shallows. Now, speaking of geographical territories, my wife has a different reaction to this movie than I do because she lived and grew up in the desert. And this is one of my son's favorite movies and mine as well. And I've seen this movie a lot, and I love it, love it, love it. And it is a horror movie. It's not as extreme as some of the others on this list, but Tremors is so much fun to watch. And it never really bothered me. And I remember watching it with my wife, and she's like, "Well, you didn't live out in the desert that looked like that." And I said, "No, I didn't." So she said this movie when she saw it when she was a kid, just kind of, we look out into your yard and it looked like this town. It made you think a little bit, but this, just a monster movie. The cool thing about Tremors, especially this first one, is I love it when there's no origin to the creature. They're just there. It's the same thing with Hitchcock. I'll be talking about Hitchcock a lot here too. It's the same thing with Hitchcock's birds. There's no reason they start attacking people, and there's no reason they stop. It just starts and stops. And with Tremors, there's no like origin to these monster earthworm creatures. They're just there, and you have to deal with them. And that in this movie, like The Shallows, isn't as limited in cast or setting, but it is because you're kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere. And there's that great scene where they're like trying to pole vault from rock to rock. It's the same kind of thing. It's the limitations. And Tremors is so much fun. Kevin Bacon's so good. The whole cast in this movie is fantastic. And this kind of was like that 90s sweet spot of all those whether arachnophobia call it like thrill-omedies, where it's kind of funny and thrilling at the same time. No, Jessica, I wouldn't call it horror either, but it fit the category for IMDb, so this is one that got in. This comment might be for The Shallows, but I think both movies, Tremors and my wife said she thinks she chewed off all her nails in the movie, so it might be for The Shallows, but it also could be for Tremors, both. And yeah, Reba McEntire's great in it, and Michael Gross, from Family Ties, is wonderful. I think Michael Gross is the only actor that was like, there's like a bunch of sequels to Tremors. I think Michael Gross may be the only actor in all of them. And if you haven't seen Tremors or hadn't seen it in a while, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. And Tremors is probably the one movie on this list that a lot of people will be like, well, that's really not a horror movie. And I would probably agree with them, but I'm letting IMDb settle that. So call them and debate it with them, I guess, because I had to have somebody other than me make that call. This next one is, well, you know what? Now that I'm talking about all this out loud, a lot of these movies have the same theme of having limitations and limited scenes and limited places to go, and that kind of thing. And so there is a definitely a sub thread through here, because this next one just had me captivated from start to finish, because you had no idea what was going on the whole time, and you wanted to know. And that's 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's part of that Cloverfield franchise where these aliens are coming down and people are trying to escape. This lady has a car accident, and she's taken to this underground bunker by John Goodman. And John Goodman is like serial killer vibes the whole time. And there's another guy down there with him that's like held prisoner, maybe. You're not sure, and he won't let them go anywhere and escape, and it's just real unsettling, and they're stuck in this bunker underground, and there's like, some kind of aliens or something falling from the sky. You think, you don't really know because they kind of keep it under wraps, and this lady would rather climb out of this bunker and battle whatever life form is falling out of the sky than stay there with John Goodman. And John Goodman is terrifyingly terrific in it, and he's just a fantastic actor anyway. He's always been good in everything. And if you haven't seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, it is, like I said, a lot of times I just sit there like, I don't know if I trust this guy or not. He's giving off weird vibes, and you're like, you're thinking, you need to get out of there, but you don't want to get out of there, and you just don't know, what to do or anything. And it just builds to this, crescendo of kind of suspense and horror, and you're discovering new things all the time, and it's just a, I don't want to say crazy, it's just this plotting movie that just gets you from the word go, and is definitely, if you've not seen it, definitely check it out. You don't have to see all the other Cloverfield movies to grasp this one at all, because I haven't. So this is just one that I don't even really know why I picked it to watch one day. I just did, and probably because John Goodman was in it. But 10 Cloverfield Lane is my number 6. Yeah, Dwayne, I did like the Krampus movie, and I considered putting it on here. I really did. But I wanted to keep it separate because it was a Christmas movie. And I was just wanting to do some non-Christmas movies. But Krampus is definitely one, because last year I did like top 5 spooky Christmas movies or Christmas horror movies or something. And so I kind of want to hit on some other things, but I really love the Krampus. And Holly says, post trimmers, Mom said go outside and play, and we just sat in the yard on the rocks. So, yeah, that's definitely right. Ken from the North Pole News Dispatch says, we need a really well-made Sasquatch terror movie. I could agree with that. I would like a good scary Bigfoot movie. Harry and the Hendersons is just not scary enough for me. So, but I would dig that for sure. But let's move on. This next movie I saw in the theaters, and it's one of those limiting movies again that just kind of limits something that you could do. And I remember having popcorn, and I was afraid to eat it because I did not want to make any noise in the theater. And that's A Quiet Place. This may be the most fun movie on the list from start to finish, because especially if you see it in a theater, even at home, it's like you do not, more so with the first one than the second one, you do not want to make a sound. I remember thinking my popcorn was too loud. It is spectacular and simple, and the things came from space, and you kind of find out why stuff. But it's really a movie, at its core about family, but it's so well done. How many movies can just invoke the audience to play along with the main trope of the movie? Quiet Place. You can't make a noise, or the aliens hear it and come get you. So instantly you're like making sure you're quiet. Because you don't want to be the one making that noise. But it is a fantastic movie. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, real life husband and wife, play husband and wife in this movie. And oh man, there's just so much stacked in this movie, and it's one you definitely just got to add to your collection if you're a movie fan at all. But yeah, Quiet Place number 5. Definitely a lot of fun. This and Tremors are probably the ones I've seen the most, over and over again, and for good reason. Now, this next movie is one of the older movies on the list, and I've seen it for the first time recently and really liked it. And it's another alien movie, so um, and it's got snow in it, so that's kind of Christmassy. But that's 1982's The Thing, John Carpenter's remake or reimagining this about an alien that drops down in Antarctica, which kind of is kind of like a prelude, if you will, to like the Antarctica aliens versus predator kind of thing, and then this like SEAL team thing. Scientist guys have to go get it, and they take control of their bodies. It has those early '80s effects. It's John Carpenter, kind of in his prime, and it's really good. It's really good, and since it's got Kurt Russell in it, and I'm just gonna say this out loud, since it's got Kurt Russell, future Santa Claus, I'm just gonna declare right now on Christmas Clatter that John Carpenter's The Thing is the prequel to the Christmas Chronicles. So it's about future Santa Claus going to the South Pole to clean up evil aliens to restore some kind of Christmas magic that the South Pole has to offer for the North Pole or something. I'll get it put together, but I'm going to consider The Thing a Christmas Chronicle Santa Claus origin story, because this Kurt Russell has his long hair and beard kind of like he does for Christmas Chronicles, so it's kind of interesting. But if you're not big into gross, this movie you might want to shy away from it, but it's really well done. John Carpenter as a director is really hit or miss. It's either really good or not really good at all. But this music with the soundtrack, and again, you're kind of stuck in this small space in Antarctica kind of thing. I guess small spaces scare me because a lot of these are kind of small space movies and people stuck in tight areas and have real limiting types of things going on, or maybe that's just a horror movie thing. But yeah, number 4, The Thing. And, I just want to say, I'm not a big horror movie fan, but one thing I always say to people when they talk about like Hallmark Christmas movies, and they're like, well, they're all the same. Yeah, they are. And it's like, well, have you seen a slasher movie lately? They're all the same. You just don't watch 40 of them within a month and a half, because if you did, you would really realize how much they are all the same. And, but there's one that is a little bit different than the others, and it's done different because it was a challenge to do something a little different. And, it was very made on purpose, and it was an instant classic when it came out. This is the oldest movie on the list. I actually saw it when I took a film class in college. It was the first time I saw it in like 1996, 97, and because that's well before streaming, so a lot of stuff you just didn't get to see. And that's 1960s Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. This just kind of, there were a lot of horror movies going around, and Hitchcock's like, well, you can do, I can do that better. And he did. It's stood the test of time, probably more than any other horror movie hasn't become a joke. Someone made a comment in here about, Friday the 13th. They've become a joke. Some of the Halloween's become an action franchise. really has, you know, um, and and a lot of the stuff just kind of dies out. This is one horror movie that just has not died out, and there's a reason, because it's legit good and it's legit creepy and scary, and you got psychos of the in there, people that have real serious. I think a lot of it is because it's like you probably seen people that have the hints of these same kind of problems, and then the who you think's going to be the star of the show, is gone within the first scene. Something that Scream tried to replicate with, Drew Barrymore paying, homage to that. Um, so Psycho is an absolute classic. If you're a fan of film, I'm sure you've seen it many times. Um, Technically, it's just done right. The script's so good. Um, just one of those that it'll creep you out each and every time, and definitely worth top bill on a lot of the lists. This next one, number 2 on my list, is one that probably scares me the most, um, because it is legit scary and legit good with good performances. And I had this joke, and it was a joke. I say it was a joke, but it was just something I used to just kind of say. It's not meant to be a pretty movie, and they succeed in that. But man, it is a trip, and it is well done with twists and turns, and it's kind of just one of those that is standing the test of time. But I don't think it's as well as Psycho, and that's The Shining. And this is, like I said, probably the scariest movie on this list because it is so wildly creepy. This classic pose of Jack, popping through the, axing the door, sticking his head and going, "Here's Johnny," is just iconic in movies. It's got those creepy twins and the kid riding the big wheel down the hall, and the whole red rum thing, and the kid with the talking finger, and all kinds of weirdness. And it's like every time, it's one of those movies, every time you watch it, you see some more weirdness in the background, and it's just a well done movie. I think it was 1980 when this came out. I could be wrong on that, but this is one I can't watch it a lot, but I definitely seen it more than once, and it's probably about time to watch it again. Just to have that experience. Uh, like I said, it's probably the scariest on the list, and I kind of don't want to watch it enough to where I don't get kind of creeped out by it. But Dan, the maze in The Shining's freaky, and it's like you just don't know how it's going to end because every time they give you a possible ending, it just fails. Yeah, and it's just one of those that just kind of it's so well done and it keeps you going. But yeah, The Shining. If you really want to be scared and creeped out, uh, definitely check it out. But we'll be moving on to number 1 here. And you guys in your chat, if you don't mind, I know, what's your favorite scary movie of all time? Just to kind of give me a feel of what everybody likes, what everybody is kind of their go-to scary movie. Because everybody has different tastes. I'm not a big like ghosts and demons scary movie guy. Just that doesn't get me going at all. I'm more of a like you've seen in this list, more of a monster alien kind of guy. Aliens would have made the list, the second Aliens, because it's the one I was most familiar with, but it was not considered a horror movie. And this is one I considered. Dwayne too was Christine. Um, that's definitely a good one, great one. First film adaptation of a Stephen King novel, and um, really, really good. But it's kind of, I think, what really uh, makes a movie scary more than the jump scares. Um, it's kind of that uncomfortable feeling you get. At least that's what really gets me, is that uncomfortableness of a movie. And I've talked about it here several times, and it's kind of become that theme, the through line of all these movies I had is being uncomfortable, whether, it's because you have a limit on, not making a noise, or your limit on where you can go, because you're trapped or something. And Jessica likes Dracula. Yeah, there's a lot of good Dracula movies with Frank. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that name wrong because Frank Langella. We'll see how that comes out. But yeah, um, you know, just something about the uneasiness of it. Part of the reason The Office was so funny was because they let you um, cringe a little bit, you know. Um, Dwayne says the latest Rob Zombie Monsters movie is uncomfortable. Is it uncomfortable good or uncomfortable bad? That would be mine because Rob Zombie, been a fan of his movie. The The Conjuring's one that's popped up a lot, and it's kind of intriguing me because it's popped up, Mikey, a lot as in top tens, and I've always heard how good it is, and it was intriguing, but I haven't seen it. But I'll take your word on it. And Ken's liking The Exorcist and It. I hadn't seen the newest It. I remember the Tim Curry It TV thing. The Exorcist. Yeah, it's good, but man, I do not want to see it again. It's been years, and I don't still want to see it again. And fun fact: St. Louis, Missouri, is the home of the events of The Exorcist, and you used to be able to go there and visit a room that was boarded up by the Catholic Church where those events happened. And of course, you couldn't go in because it was boarded up and marked with like some kind of symbol. And then, and then, um, but that building's been torn down now. So, but yeah. So, Holly says Dolls was one of the scariest movies she ever watched. Anything with dolls in it, yeah, you can have it. That is, that is, whether it's be Child's Play or Annabelle or whatever, you can have it. Even that little Goosebumps doll, man, ventriloquist dummy thing, you can have it. I am not 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 gonna have any part of that. And Dwayne says it was the Munsters was uncomfortable bad. That's not fun. I had a feeling as soon as I can listen to Rob Zombie's music all day long, but as soon as he gets behind the camera to do something with a movie, I'm checked out. I just don't get it. I guess I'm probably not in his wheelhouse. But Dwayne remembers the Omen movie, being scared at the Omen movies. Yeah, those were pretty scary too. But speaking of uncomfortable, this number one movie of mine gives you that uncomfortable vibe from the very first note that you hear in the introduction. And I've often said that the title intro for this movie is scarier than probably like 99% of the movies that's been released in the past 20 years. And it's got this uncomfortable quality all the way through. This is a movie that I've just seen a few years ago, and when I watched it, I liked it so much more than I thought I would. In fact, I would probably put this movie as a movie. It may break like my all-time favorite movies list of all kinds of movies, at least top 20 for sure. That's how much I like this movie because it was so well done. And that's 1978's Halloween. From the first note of that classic introduction and the way that that theme song never resolves, just gives you this uncomfortable feeling as you watch the jack-o'-lantern just kind of decay. And through the whole story, there's just an uncomfortableness to it. There's a few jump scares here and there, but it's just so well done and plotting and creepy and it can be scary, especially watching it in the dark, but it was, like I said, just so well done. It just kind of keeps this through line of this uncomfortableness going through. I think I've said this before on another podcast. I first watched Halloween a few years back for a Tis the Podcast Halloween episode. We were going to watch this Halloween and then the 2018 Halloween that brought back Jamie Lee Curtis as the basically Sarah Connor of Halloween's. And I told them on that podcast, I said, when I watched 1978's Halloween and I got up to go to bed, I like triple checked all the doors in the house to make sure that they were locked. But then when I watched the 2018 version and it was over, I just got up and went to bed because I felt like that one was more of a action movie than a horror movie. This movie is just, psycho serial killer. No, I mean, they give a little origin. That first scene as him as a kid is kind of an origin, but you really don't know what makes him snap. You don't really know why he's going after who he's going after. But it is, like I said, so good. And a lot of it's just that uncomfortable feeling. I could actually probably just watch the intro with the theme song and just be happy as a lark, but it is definitely good. Dwayne's claiming he knew I was going to say Halloween. He's been paying attention. That's all I could say. So, Dan just watched the original Halloween for prep and definitely a classic. Yeah, it is. It really is. If you haven't seen it, you definitely got to check it out. If you watch it now, you kind of feel like it's like the cliche babysitter thing, but you got to remember it was the movie that started that stuff, so it wasn't cliche at the time. And the origins of Halloween was actually about 4 years before a slasher movie called Black Christmas, which just recently got remade a few years back. Was released, and John Carpenter saw that and kind of wanted to do something similar and chose, Halloween as the holiday to use instead of Christmas. So, yeah. And, but yeah, that's my list, guys. Thanks, Jessica, for enjoying it. But, just for a quick, recap on the list here. We have at number 10, 1985, The Stuff. Number 9, 2009, Zombieland. Number 8, what is it, 2016-ish, The Shallows. Number 7, 1990's Tremors. Number 6, probably 2016 again, 10 Cloverfield Lane with John Goodman. 2018's A Quiet Place for number 5. Number 4 is, it's either 1980 or 1982. The Thing. I can't remember which. I think 1980 because I think 1982 was Escape from New York. So I want to say 1980's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing with Kurt Russell at number 4. Then at number 3, 1960's Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock classic. The Birds about made the list as well. I about threw Notorious in this, but it's more of a spy movie. I went through a Hitchcock thing in the late 90s. I was just all about Alfred Hitchcock, and anything he did was just, I thought, glorious. Number 2 is 1980's The Shining. And that's the honorable mentions there. And then number 1, 1978's Halloween. So that is my favorite horror movies of all time. Now, Halloween is fine, and I'm just not big on being scared, but you know what it means when Halloween's over, right? We are full blown into Christmas. That's right. I know Thanksgiving's coming up, but Thanksgiving's pre-Christmas, and I cannot wait. We are taking off. I'm taking off work next week to decorate the house. So when we stream next week, I will be eyeball deep in decorating. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and we will be off to the races here at Christmas Clatter, putting out episodes. And side note on here on the podcast, I believe what's going to end up happening on the podcast is my Christmas Eve episode, which actually released on December 23rd, my special Christmas message for everybody, is actually going to be the 100th episode of Christmas Clatter. I figured that out a week or so ago, so I can't believe it. So, it just seemed kind of fitting that the last episode before Christmas 2023 will be 100 episodes of Christmas Clatter. And I can't believe it's been that many episodes, to tell you the truth. Just feels like yesterday we got started here. But guys, enjoy your Halloween. Stay safe out there. Take the kids trick-or-treating. Like I said, I don't really particularly enjoy Halloween, but I do not let that hinder what my kids like. My youngest daughter, her favorite holiday is Halloween. She loves to dress up and go trick-or-treating and do all that stuff. And that's great. She enjoys it, and I'm going to let her enjoy it because she knows when Halloween's over. Really, the only reason I haven't put up a Christmas tree yet is because she asked me to get through Halloween first. So, when she asks, you got to listen. So, be safe out there. As we tell our kids, make good decisions. Enjoy your Halloween. Have a happy Halloween. And when we're back next week with the gang from Pepper Tree Villa, it will be full-blown Christmas season. And I cannot wait. So until then, remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day. All right, guys. Man, I appreciate you guys watching me record the top 10 list. That's always kind of tricky to do, but if you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to talk about in the chat, we can entertain that and hang out for a little bit and enjoy each other's company. Holy kraut. I went almost an hour by myself. Probably because I had 10 things to talk about. But hey, man, I appreciate it, Dan. Hopefully you're not having to leave, but if you have to, brother, take care, man. I appreciate you being here and listening and watching. I've really enjoyed doing the live streams and recording my episode right here in front of everybody. It's just so much fun. And instead of scheduling someone to talk to or figuring something out to talk about, and then recording it and then editing it and then posting it and then waiting, and everybody listens at a different time. It's like I really like having it together where everything's done at once and it's in front of, people that are interested, and so I can get live reactions, and it's so much fun to do, and I've enjoyed it, immensely. It's like I've always kind of wanted, I've always wanted to build a, Christmas community of people, get together, and I have, there's lots of great places to do it. Facebook, I guess you can do groups and stuff, and that's cool. Facebook has been squirrely lately. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's been squirrely. It's been kind of hard to navigate, especially if you have a page and a personal, you have your personal profile, then you have a page. So I have, Todd Killian, as a person, and then I have Christmas Clatter. And to bounce between those two used to be real easy. They've made it harder for some reason. So, Instagram is great, but it's hard to like really build a community. And I just, here on YouTube and be live and in front of you guys, and you're live here with me, and just really, really enjoy it, and get to enjoy it, get people's insights in real time is just so much fun. But I just really, really, thank everyone for being here. Hey, man, I appreciate it, Dwayne. I put a lot of work, a lot of tears went into this studio, but yeah, I built this here in the basement, and really enjoy it. And I still have some improvements to do, but those will probably wait till after the holidays. Just a little bit too busy right now, to really take on those things. So it's good, and it'll do. But there's a few lighting things I need to take care of. Nothing major, but I just don't want to tackle them now. And if it doesn't work out, have more of a mess. So everything's fine and good. So don't get greedy. But if anybody's got a question for me or anything, they thought, want to add for Halloween, just let me know. If not, I'll be considerate of your guys' time and let you go, but I'll give you a few more minutes. But again, I appreciate it so much. I forgot to, dang it, I was going to plug my planner and my new T-shirts on the podcast and completely forgot about it. But oh well. If anybody's listening and you care, I got the Christmas planner if you haven't got it, and there's don't forget the TeePublic store. Links will be in the description. Got some new T-shirts up there, so there. I'm just not very good at the promo stuff. Just don't enjoy always plugging. I feel like I'm always plugging, but that stuff's available if you guys are interested. But do have a community tab on YouTube now, so if you're on YouTube a lot, be seeing more of that. Yeah, Dwayne, the leg lamp does light up. It's just a little too bright. That's one thing I'm gonna do is try to figure out how to get it lit to where it doesn't wash out the whole back wall there. Get some dimmer lights or something, or maybe turn the leg on. If someone's gonna play with it. I do have lights in the McAllister house too, little battery pack, but the batteries went dead, and I have yet to get them changed out. So, but that is definitely something coming. The Santa Claus lights up as well, but he's got the little bulb in it, and he would definitely just blow out the white balance on the camera if you turn him on. So those are the kind of things I'm trying to do, is kind of how to light this up a little bit and not be such a white background and things. So I need to change out my records again. It's been a week or two since they've been like this. So I'll probably change those out next week to something different. But guys, I cannot state it enough how much I appreciate you being here and listening to me talk about Christmas. Next week we will be in November. Holy cow. and we will be completely eyeball deep. I hope you guys are getting your trees up, your decorations out. But until then, have a happy Halloween. And I'll say it again for you guys. Remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day.